Oh, this is gonna be a spicy one. The tribalistic cultists of MMORPGs. Here we go. Oh my god, that's very old school.
Let's flash back to a time before computers and the internet were common in most households. To obtain information, you went to the library. To watch your favorite show, you had to find it on the TV guide or rent it from Blockbuster. And to interact with friends, you had to pick up the phone from Fallout.
Yep.
What is this crap?
Dude.
How did people live like this?
I had a white one.
You can't even watch porn on it.
Hey, yep.
Don't be lonely. Talk live to your special lady tonight. International long-distance rate supply as low as 57
All right then.
Hey, yo.
Eventually, technology advanced far enough that consumers didn't need a garage to store 5 megabytes of data.
Crazy.
As the personal computer had started to become more and more standard in households, many industries would be revolutionized, including, of course, the most important of all, video games.
Yep.
Multiplayer games in particular would see a revolution, the likes of which they had never seen before, as instead of handing the controller to a friend beside you, you could, on demand, at any time, play against a stranger from across the world.
Truly crazy.
This would not only change existing genres, but also create entirely new ones.
What's this
One
game?
of the biggest being, the most intense yet, the MMORPG, where players could come together from all over the world to form virtual online communities. And especially ever since the breakthrough release of World of Warcraft in 2004, people love them.
Yep.
Some people really love them.
Maybe love them a little bit too much, let's be honest.
Actually, like if MMOs were a person, they would want to wear their skin. Levels of obsession.
Put the fucking lotion in the bag!
It can get pretty extreme.
Pretty intense genre of game. They are very time consuming. They can be quite expensive, and people as a result become quite invested into them, so much so that their love for a particular game can manifest itself into disdain for another, or even the transgressors who dare play them.
And WoW has reached the level of this tribalistic cultist, like, ideology, I suppose, if you could say it like that, that it actually starts having different groups within the game. Now it's not only WoW versus Final Fantasy, it's WoW versus Final Fantasy and WoW. WoW is like fighting like in between each other as well now. It's so crazy. Tribalism. WoW versus WoW versus WoW. Yep.
Welcome to another episode of MMO Theory, a series where we analyze the MMORPG industry and the people who play them. And today we're going to analyze MMO tribalism, what it looks like, why it happens.
Wait, hold on. I want to read this real fast. This thread is full of desperate WoW fanboys with empty friends lists who are trying to convince the remaining few regular WoW players to not jump ship and go to Final Fantasy. Because they know these players would never come back to that pile of garbage that is current WoW. Like bald guys doing comb-overs to try to convince you they still have lustrous hair, but they're not fooling anyone, and it makes them look pathetic. Safi, the 60 Undead Priest, with 21,000 posts. Never mind, he has 51. It's achievement points. It just sounds more cool when I said it like that. He has 51 posts. Regardless though, Safi's pissed.
And its effect on fan bases, the industry at large, and social media as a whole. So, tribalism is defined as the tendency of individuals to form strong emotional attachments and loyalties to specific online communities,
people get too
groups, or ideologies. Social media platforms provide spaces for users to interact with others who share similar interests, beliefs, or identities. But in the case of tribalism, the shared interest can often transform into a combined hatred for another, transforming an environment that was once characterized by shared enthusiasm to toxicity.
Yep.
And leading to this us versus them mentality.
Dude, yeah. PC versus console, Xbox versus PlayStation, WoW versus Final Fantasy, prequels, sequels, Marvel, DC. Dude, it's I think it boils down to people, they don't like if you do not like what they like. They wanna like what's popular, and if you don't agree with that, then you're in the wrong. And how dare you not agree with me, right?
It's like the old Xbox versus Nintendo versus PlayStation console wars.
God.
But I would make the argument
people need
that
validation. I think it also boils down to people not wanting to admit that they are like they're wasting time on something. They want to feel validated in the fact that they are playing the good version, right? They're playing the better one, and you guys all are playing the worst one because I'm right? The Helldivers 2 stuff brought out all the PlayStation fanboys. Oh yeah, with the yeah, I heard about that Helldivers 2 with the requiring a PlayStation sign up or something like that. I feel like that's pretty bullcrap as well. But you know, it is what it is.
it's even more intense with MMOs for a
They
variety of
removed that.
Morning.
I don't know the full details on that, so I'm not going to speak on that too much. But I just know that there was some major problems, and they got a lot of backlash on it, right? It's no longer required. Okay, yeah. I mean, but that's literally because people were, they were basically like review brigading, and they were like heavily letting them know that they hated it, right? Steam is mass refunding the game. Yeah, I figured. It in a way, it's good that the consumers can have the control to, like, you know, if something is really shitty, they can't just get walked over like that, right? But goddamn.
reasons. The first just being time investment, whether it be leveling, raiding, economy, PvP. Although MMOs come in many different flavors, they often share one characteristic.
Okay.
They're time consuming. The goal
Yep.
of the MMO developer is to keep the player hooked and forever creating new obstacles and also satisfying ways to overcome these obstacles,
Yeah.
whether that be in the form of quests, raiding, PvP content, whatever. And so each of these activities are designed to sink days, weeks, months, years into, all the while the players invest more and more time into them.
And they don't want to feel like that time is not well spent, right? So they go onto forums and they try to find like-minded people that agree with them, and if you disagree, you're wrong. And it's just
So a lot of
it's
why
bad.
this tribalism happens has to do with how humans shape their identity. The
Yep.
more time that we tend to invest into things, the more emotions we also invest into that same
True.
thing. This special personal connection is formed as it becomes a daily part of our lives. Some would describe it as a comfort activity. So with how MMOs are structured, with activities resetting daily, raids resetting weekly, and so on, there's this incentive to make them a constant, everyday part of your
Yeah.
life.
MMOs are literally a second life. They are. If you want to actually main an MMO, it's like having a second life in a way.
Toxicity, such as with tribalism, often spawns from emotion.
Let the hate flow through you.
And with these MMOs, there's this huge potential for this very heavy emotional investment that comes with time. In addition, we also have money. In the early days, the monetization model for MMOs was as follows. You bought the box and also a subscription to play the game. And every couple
I have one of these in my attic. I kept one of these like prepaid game card boxes, so I have one in my attic. Could you pause the video for 2 minutes? No.
years, if it was popular enough, expansions. This itself already made them much more expensive than any other genre of game, but it made sense. Because content is continuously being added, it does make sense that the game demands this constant flow of income to fund it. But as time has shown, this would prove to be chump change compared to the monetization models of today, such as cash shop selling cosmetics or even straight up character progression.
I think there was a video. I remember I got a video recommended to me. I think it was like, you guessed it, guys, an Asmongold React video. And it was about some guy that's been playing WoW for 20 years, and he's like a very heavy enjoyer of spending money on, like, you know, in-game items and, you know, server transfers and faction changes and, you know, different pits and mounts and stuff like that. And I think he spent, I think it was $20,000 or $30,000 over the course of 20 years just on like in-game purchases. That is like crazy. Yeah, it was like a guy sitting in a chair and his wife was talking to him, and he spent like $20,000 or $30,000 on just in-game stuff, right? Not the subscription, which is crazy.
Or battle passes, or all of the above.
It can go far, man. It can go really far. And imagine trying to convince a person like that what he spent money on and time and all that is like, you know, a waste of time. He doesn't want to feel like that. He has to feel like it's validated in a way, right? How many more years do you think it will be before every video is just an Asmongold react video? We're gonna reach like a simulation where we're all just, you know, it's just Asmongold all over the place. I think we are reaching that a little bit, and honestly.
The genre is far and wide.
Don't ask me about gacha games. Woo!
More profitable today than it ever was during its inception. Did you know that StarCraft 2, a game that took hundreds of people years to make and sold millions of copies on launch, was financially outperformed by a $15 store mount in World of Warcraft? These MMOs.
How fucking nuts is that? You make a $15 horse for WoW and it outperforms StarCraft 2, one of the greatest RTS games ever made. That's actually insane. That blows my mind. I always like, and I'm probably in the wrong here. I never found like purchasable like mounts and gear and stuff to be cool, because I'm just buying it with money. I feel like the cool things you can achieve in games are stuff you gotta like do in the game to get, right? I think that's the cool thing about it. How much was StarCraft at release? StarCraft 2 release price. I don't know what it released for. The first installment of the 3-part sequel on July 27th will 60 bucks? No, it wasn't $60. Was it $60? It says $60 here. Yeah, $60 I think.
Warcraft. These MMOs make an absurd amount of money because people spend an absurd amount of money.
It's insane.
And so the investment from the player isn't just time and emotional in nature.
I just never got it. I mean, they look cool. They always make sure to make the pets look cool, but I never got it. Like, you can just buy it. It's not like it's cool having it. You just purchased it for money, right?
It's financial.
I don't know.
And
to me, it's weird.
This lies at the source of tribalism. All three of these different forms of investments can spiral out of control very easily because, aside from time investment, the genre is also largely defined by its addictive nature.
Yeah.
The feeling of slowly but surely progressing a character day by day alone is an addictive feeling, and RPG games have always had this appeal to them. But when MMOs were released, the game changed. These single-player games had this safety mechanism of an ending credits that the players would eventually reach in an amount of time proportional to the level that they got hooked on them. But now, because content is being continuously added,
you will never reach the
there is no
line.
finish line. There is no end. Collection-based system.
When it's said like that, it does sound so crazy, man. It's just a never-ending treadmill, right? But I mean, as long as it's fun, as long as you're enjoying what you're playing, I think that's fine. But I would probably assume a lot of people don't actually enjoy it, but they were just playing it because they're so invested, right?
Items are introduced, and items to add to the collections are continuously being sold in a genre of game based around character progression that also constantly resets character
progression. What if you enjoy it? I don't know.
And because of this, there's no longer a limit to the amount of time, emotion, or money the player can invest into them. And it is in fact in the developer's best interests that they invest more and more and more into their game, of course.
Investing in the game turns into FOMO? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's why a lot of people are constantly, oh, am I missing out? Like, can I still make this? Is it okay? Like, it's a very big problem, I think. I think it's fine if you're enjoying the game, but like, you shouldn't feel forced, right, in that way.
Developers and publishers love addicts.
Even single player games are getting like this, new game plus and DLCs for more story to keep you invested. Yeah, and early access and alpha and beta and like all that stuff. It's like, it's a bad thing for sure.
Because addiction is a core part of the MMORPG. When you see these online groups behaving extremely toxic to what very well may be well-intentioned critique of a particular game, understand that these people may not even be defending their favorite game. They're defending their choice to invest such a large amount of time, emotion, and finances into them. Over time, even if the quality of the game starts to wane, a person who spent 2 decades of their lives in it isn't going to be as capable of objectivity as they once were, as admitting fault with the game now in a way puts into question their decision to invest so much into it. So they may start saying crazy things like, Shadowlands was a great expansion. So what happens is that
okay, I don't know if anyone said that.
Games lose quality. In order to maintain satisfaction, standards must be lowered, but not only for themselves, but also for everyone else
Leave the multiple
within that community.
I will say one thing about Shadowlands. Condemn Warrior was hella fun. Okay, like that shit was fun. That shit was fun, man. Okay, that's all I want to say about that.
Tribalism often gets very personal very quickly, but in the tribalist's mind, it became personal the moment that you critiqued the game because they have attached their identity to it. To you, you're critiquing a game.
This is a New World.
But to them, you're critiquing their decision to invest so much into it. And this isn't just MMOs.
Wasting time on one thing you enjoy is not time wasted. Yeah, I mean, I like to have the thought process and the idea of like, you at the end of the day, you gotta enjoy the passing of time, right? And if you enjoy the passing of time by playing a video game, once every day or whatever the heck you do, then that's fine, You shouldn't feel like ashamed for spending time on a video game if it makes you enjoy it, right?
It's not just even gaming, it's social media as a whole.
That's what games are for.
Whether it be gaming, politics, movie fandom, whatever, people just have the natural tendency to attach their identity to things that they enjoy.
I think people also just like being a part of a community. That's also just a big part of it. Like it's nice being a part of a space and a place where people agree with you and people like have the same kind of ideas and they have the same kind of thoughts, right? People like want to feel at home, and if you feel at home playing Classic WoW or Dragonflight or Diablo 2 doing bail runs, then do that, right? The loudest of WoW communities enjoys talking crap about the game that actually not playing it. That's the issue. I do think it is a big issue with people attacking other games, especially within its own community. I do think that's a big problem, right? I wish people would be a little bit less focused on the negative, and more just focused on what they enjoy, right? But yeah.
Or believe in. Further, they also surround themselves with others who reinforce their decision to do so. By doing so, this positive feedback loop is formed within these communities, and those who deviate from that are immediately ostracized. They are labeled as flip-floppers, enlightened centrists, weak-willed, and so on. In these cases, rationality and patience is often cast aside in favor of blind fervor and towing the line set in front of them at any cost. Social media as a whole is built upon the backs of tribalism and polarization. So, considering how MMOs are all basically different forms of social media, if you think of it, it's no wonder that this tribalism culture is so prevalent. And the sad thing about it is that they only hurt themselves. The MMO industry is largely monopolistic. You have World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, and then everything else. New MMOs are like
isn't old school RuneScape pretty banging as well? I mean, shout out to my RuneScape players out there.
Fireworks. They're spectacular for a fraction of a second. although they have these giant launches for one reason or another, they seem to fizzle out extremely quickly.
Yeah.
And out of the thousands released to date, we're left with 2 frontrunners, pretty much.
I feel like it's just hard competing as well with that. Like, as a new MMO scene, you're trying to compete with an established, I guess 2 established games over 20 years almost. I think it's hard, man.
Competition breeds innovation.
2-ish hours
MMOs
or so,
vary
maybe?
in monetization models. Some require a sub fee, others don't, but what they all compete for unequivocally is your time. There are few out there who have enough time to dedicate to 2 MMOs at once.
Yeah,
so
it's difficult.
The more quality MMOs are out there, the more they have to compete with one another, and the more they have to compete, the higher quality they become, and the less they sacrifice at the altar of the cash shop. So in reality, what they should be doing is cheering each other on, as it puts a fire under the developers to create better experiences for their games.
Competition is
it
great.
any coincidence that Dragonflight, which people seem to generally like, came after it became clear that 14 was providing some serious competition to what used to be the undisputed king? But again, this is all based on logic,
Competition is
and
good in games.
Tribalists don't operate on logic. As described, they operate on emotion, but the sooner that the community can recognize that together they are strong and put aside their petty differences, the sooner they shed these insecurities and open up and echo critique that may very well improve the thing that they invest so much into.
I think in one shape, one way of explaining this, or like putting into an actual action, is with the Helldiver stuff, man. There was such a big uproar and such like a strong community feel towards the thing with the PlayStation Network and shit that it got removed so fast, right? They actually, you know, got something done.
As a result,
for that shit.
The better products they get, the better
The
politicians
commercial was
they
so cringe. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
get, and most importantly, of course, the better MMOs they get. Like the video if you liked it, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Interesting video, interesting topic as well. I do think it's a big problem, like people like shitting and hating on each other with the communities and everything like that. Wish people would be a little bit more chill with everything, but don't think it's gonna happen. You know, for me, I think the MMO genre is dying. I don't think it's dying. I just think I think the people that enjoy MMOs. It's never gonna be as big as it was, but I think there's always gonna be a big, steady player base that enjoys MMOs for what they are. I don't think it's ever gonna be like Call of Duty or FIFA or anything like that. But you know, there's a pretty decent amount of players that enjoy MMOs, and I think it's gonna stay like that, right?